We're going to start this Saturday morning off with a little mag dump for you. Good morning, everyone. It is a beautiful Saturday morning over here in western Pennsylvania, and I am headed over to the Freedom Compound right now to do a little testing. So I was sitting at one of our job sites a few days ago, just looking at this big giant pile of scrap lumber that they were getting ready to get rid of. So, you know, some builders have their framers throw it in the dumpster, others say, you know, go ahead and throw what's safe in a burn barrel. So all the lumber was going to get disposed of, and I'm looking at it, and there's all sorts of different lumber. And I started thinking to myself, could I shoot through that? Could I? There are so many different types of lumber out there that it kind of made me wonder. So I grabbed a few pieces, and we're gonna go experiment this morning. So basically what I did was I grabbed one piece of regular lumber, just regular, untreated, nothing special, your typical wall studding lumber. Then there were a couple scrap pieces of pressure treated lumber. Now, for anybody that isn't really familiar with this sort of stuff, I'll give you a quick rundown on it. So any lumber that is going to be used on like interior walls, things like that, it's untreated, it's your standard run-of-the-mill. Most of the time it's pine, sometimes it could be, you know, crappy cedar, whatever. So that stuff is usually relatively soft, easy to cut through. You know, when we're working with it on the job sites, me being in concrete, when we're running our forms, that's the kind of lumber we go for, because if we don't have access to power, it's extremely easy to cut with a good handsaw. So that stuff, I don't see an issue with me shooting through it. I think that's gonna allow the bullets to travel right through it, no problem. Now the next piece of lumber I grabbed was pressure treated, and what this lumber is it's made for outdoor use, things that are going to be built outside in the elements, getting hit with rain, moisture, you know, insects, because there are insects that like to burrow into wood to make their little homes. So and basically what they do with that is they put it under a lot of pressure, and they inject it with some different chemicals and things to make it a lot more dense, so it doesn't absorb the moisture, so that the insects don't burrow into it. So I will say from experience, cutting regular lumber with a handsaw as opposed to pressure treated lumber, there is a huge difference in density. If my only option was a handsaw, I would prefer to cut through regular lumber all day, every day, rather than pressure treated, because that stuff sucks. If you're gonna cut that, definitely use something powered. Then the third type of lumber, and I got really lucky on this because you typically don't find these things laying around. I got a couple scrap pieces of LVL beams. Now what LVL beams are is it stands for laminated veneer lumber. They take thin layers of lumber veneer and they put them under pressure, they glue them together, they basically engineer them. So these things, when they're done, they are a true 2 inches thick, as opposed to regular lumber or pressure treated lumber that's say like a 2x4, if you actually measure that, it's actually going to be 1.5 by 3.5. But with LVL beams, if it says it's a 2x8 beam, it is 2 inches thick by 8 inches wide, and these are extremely dense. They are engineered so that they replace steel beams in houses. You know, some builders choose to use steel beams, some builders choose to swap steel beams out with LVL beams, but either way, this is something, these LVL beams are something that even like using a power saw to cut through these are extremely dense. They're not the easiest things to cut through. So I saw those and I said, are those bulletproof? Could I shoot through those? Let's test it out. So we got a couple pieces of each. We're like I said, we're headed up to the Freedom Compound, and we got a smorgasbord of firearms that we're gonna test it out on, and let's see what happens. I think this is gonna make for a pretty fun Saturday morning. I'll see you up there. So we are up here at the lead dump, and I'm gonna go ahead and just kind of show you again. I know I just said what we were doing, but I'm gonna go ahead and just show you this stuff. So right here we have a 2x8, just, you know, regular lumber, nothing special, just regular framing lumber. Over here we have our pressure treated lumber, and then right here we have our 2 pieces of LVL beam material. Alright guys, so these are going to be the firearms that we're conducting this experiment with. We have here the Sig Sauer Mosquito. This is a 22 long handgun. We have our Brigade BMF AR9. This shoots 9mm. We have our Springfield XDS chambered in .40 caliber. Then we have our Springfield 1911 .45. We have our Diamondback DB15 AR-15. Today we're going to be sending some 5.56 through this, not 223. And then lastly we have our Century Arms RH10 AK-47, and this is chambered in 7.62 by 39. And of course, you cannot forget about your earplugs and your eye protection. So let's get loaded up and send some rounds out. Okay guys, so first up is the 22 Sig Sauer Mosquito. And as I've stated in other videos, remember your trigger discipline. You keep your trigger off, you keep your finger off the trigger and out of the trigger housing until you're ready to shoot. And muzzle awareness. Always be aware of where that barrel is pointed. So let's go ahead and get started. So it looks like we got some nice placement with that 22. I'll go ahead and start with the regular lumber, pressure treated, and then LVL, and we'll see what happened. So right here, we got 2 nice entry holes there. Good contact. Yep, blew right through it. So regular lumber, that's not gonna stop anything. Pressure treated lumber, again, we got 2 nice holes right there. Did not come out. That's kind of surprising. So, all right. pressure treated lumber will stop at 22 in most cases, I guess. So then that means LVL, there's 4, 1 2 3 4, nothing. I'm actually kind of curious to see how far those went in. Doesn't really look like much. So there you have it. Regular lumber, not stopping at 22. Pressure treated lumber, the 2 rounds that I sent didn't come out. LVL, nothing. So we're gonna go ahead and move up to the 9mm. Yeah, 9mm would be next. So let's get set up and see what happens with that. We got our Brigade BMF AR9 33 round mag. We're gonna go ahead and start with the regular, then pressure treated, and then LVL. See what happens. Okay, so starting with the regular lumber, the 2x8. We got 3 nice, well-placed holes there. All 3 of which came out. Not a surprise. And just to let you guys know, we are shooting at probably 20 to 30 yards. Next up is the pressure-treated lumber. We have 1 2 3 holes there. All of which came out. So they came in, went right out. Next is the LVL. That is a nice grouping. Got 1 2 3 right there. Okay, and they came out. That's what I was curious about. So 9mm went through all 3. Now, the thing about the next couple calibers is that 40 and 45 are a good bit larger than the 9mm. So I'm wondering, the bigger size bullets, are they gonna have enough velocity to go out? Let's find out. Okay, next up is our Springfield XDS chambered in 40 caliber. So with this, it's a single stack, which means your magazines, they're going to be in a singular line there. You have a very narrow grip, so these magazines don't hold as many rounds as, you know, the Sig Sauer P320 that I have. You know, obviously the 33 round mags that I have for the Brigade. So let's see what happens. So actually, right before I stuck this mag in my pocket, I noticed that the mag that I just shot was a full metal jacket, whereas these ones are hollow point. So the full metal jacket isn't going to break apart the way a hollow point is. So let's go ahead and send these out and see what happens with those. That is what we call a variable. Okay, so like I said, those smaller guns are harder to shoot. There's a lot more room for error for whenever you're squeezing the trigger. You know, that barrel moves a tiny bit. Obviously, it's going to throw you off. And in my defense, I haven't shot that gun in probably a year and a half or so. So took a little bit of adjustment, but I think we got it. So right here is the 9mm. You can see that's a little bit smaller than my fingernail. And then there's the 40 caliber. So again, a little bit bigger hole. And these two here were the full metal jacket. This one was the hollow point. So flip the board over. Okay, I must have hit an odd or something, because that blew that whole side out. So the two full metal jackets and the hollow point in the 40 caliber came right out of the regular lumber. Here is the 2 full metal jacket entry holes and the 1 hollow point hole in the 40. All 3 of which came out of the backside. And I'm a little bit surprised to see that the full metal jacket had a larger exit than the hollow point. The reason I'm surprised with that is because ideally when the hollow point enters, the bullet, the hollow point's going to enter into whatever you're shooting, and it's going to break apart. So you have a lot more shrapnel that's going to tear out of the backside of whatever you're shooting. That's why that one surprised me, whereas the full metal jacket usually just goes in. Unless it hits a bone, it comes out. So yeah, let's see what the LVL beam did. So here's our 2 full metal jacket entry holes, and then the 1 hollow point. Okay, so all 3 came out, and this is what I was talking about. This is one of the exit holes. This is another one for the full metal jacket. This is the hollow point hole, and you can see the hollow point had a bigger exit hole than the 2 full metal jacket. So that's a little bit surprising that hollow point round came out of the backside. So I guess next up is the 45, and with the way this is going, those ones are going out of the backside. Okay, so next up on the chopping block is the Springfield 1911 45, and again, this is going to be a single stack magazine. The bullets don't stack side by side, they're just right on top of the other, so you have a narrow grip. That means we're going to have less rounds in this. I believe this is only going to hold, what is that, 6 or 7, so we'll find out. Okay, so right off the bat, here's the 9mm, there's the 40, and there's the 45. I mean, look at the size difference in the entry holes between the 9mm and the 45. So no surprise, these ones came out of the backside. Not surprised even a little bit on that one, especially considering the 22 went through those. So the LVL, I shot this side first. Here's the entry hole. It fell. So here's the exit hole for that. It fell, so I just shot it again. Here's my entry hole for the 45 on this side. And there's the exit hole there. So yeah, pressure treated lumber isn't really holding up. So don't hide behind that. The LVL beam, again, 9mm, 40, 45. Yep, came out. And that exit hole is pretty torn up. Okay, so this experiment has pretty much been busted, but I'm still gonna shoot it with the AR and AK because why not? Okay, so next up is the AR-15. This is, again, the Diamondback DB-15, and we're shooting 5.56 out of it. Right here is our 45. That is a 45 handgun. This is the hole from the AR-15. It's absurd how big of a difference there is. So again, no surprise, on the regular lumber, the AR-15, the 5.56, they went in, came out. No surprise there. Pressure treated lumber, we've got quite a few entry holes there, all of which came out. But even still, like on the pressure treated lumber, this is the exit hole from that 45. This is the exit hole from the 5.56. And on the LVL beam, we got a good little grouping there, all of which came out. Lastly is the Century Arms RH10 AK-47. I already know this one's going all the way through, so oh well, we're still gonna have some fun. .762, and just to be just to show you some comparison, 762 by 39 from an AK-47, 5.56 from an AR-15. Oh wow, so surprised that one came through the regular lumber. Yeah, so regular lumber's not stopping anything. Here's a few from the 762 from the AK, all of which came out. Again, no surprise. And then right here, 762 by 39 from the AK. Here's your 5.56 from the AR. All of which came out. No surprise. All right, everyone. There you have it. Our experiment was put to the test. We added in a couple variables with those hollow points, and the results came back less than satisfactory. The only thing that was stopped was the 22 on the pressure treated as well as the LVL beams. I can't say I'm surprised. It's wood. I know those LVL beams are engineered to replace the steel in houses, but when it comes down to it, it is still wood. Wood is not bulletproof. There you have it. Science. So anyways, I want to thank you guys for tuning in to another episode of Gunpowder and Freedom. If you like what you saw, please click the like and subscribe. If there's anything you want to see, drop me a comment and let me know. Have a good weekend. We'll see you.